The Perceptron has a fatal flaw, something that almost got it completely abandoned at one point. A weakness so severe that researchers literally stopped working on it for years. Sounds crazy, right? Well, buckle up, because we're about to uncover both the brilliance and the downfall of the Perceptron and why it still matters today. Let's get into it. So now that we know the Perceptron is like the baby neuron of AI, let's pop the hood and see what's inside. If a Perceptron were a burger, stay with me here, then it would have just a few key ingredients. You've got the inputs, think of these as the fresh ingredients, the raw data. Then there are the weights, the secret sauce that decides how important each input is. The bias, that's like adjusting the flavor, making sure the burger tastes just right. And finally, there's the activation function, which is basically the ultimate decision maker. Do we serve this burger or throw it out? Now let's break it down in a way that makes sense. Imagine you're deciding whether to go outside based on 3 factors: temperature, chance of rain, and your energy level. Each of these factors, inputs, carries a different level of importance, weights. A hot sunny day, high weight towards yes. Rainy and cold, strong push towards no. The Perceptron does the exact same thing, but in a mathematical way. It takes those inputs, multiplies them by their respective weights, adds a bias for fine-tuning, and then decides, go out or stay in. Simple, right? Well, here's the thing. While this basic setup is powerful, it also leads to one of the biggest limitations of the Perceptron. What happens when the decision isn't so black and white? What if the burger isn't just good or bad, but somewhere in between? What if the Perceptron needs to learn more complex patterns, ones that aren't just a straight yes or no answer? That's where things get tricky and where we start to see the cracks in the Perceptron's simple design. Let's dig deeper. Time to pull back the curtain on how a Perceptron actually makes decisions. And don't worry, we're keeping it fun, no complicated math headaches here. At its core, a Perceptron is really just a decision-making machine disguised as an equation. Imagine it like a bouncer at a club. People show up at the door, each with different levels of importance. Some are VIPs, some are regular guests, and some probably shouldn't be there at all. The bouncer sizes them up, adds up all the important factors, and then decides who gets in and who's left standing outside. Now, here's what's happening behind the scenes. Each piece of information coming in is called an input. The Perceptron assigns a level of importance to each input, which we call a weight. All these weighted inputs are added together, and then there's one last little tweak called bias. Think of bias as the bouncer's personal preference. Maybe he's feeling extra strict, or maybe he's letting a few more people in tonight. Once everything is added up, the Perceptron runs this total through something called an activation function. This is like the bouncer's final verdict. Yes, you're in. No, you're out. Let's say we're building an AI to detect spam emails. The inputs could be things like whether the email contains the word free, if it's from an unknown sender, or if it has a suspicious attachment. The Perceptron takes all these pieces of information, applies the weights, adjusts for bias, and then makes a decision. If the total score crosses a certain threshold, boom, the email goes to spam. If not, it lands safely in your inbox. Now, here's the wild part. All of this, everything the Perceptron does, boils down to a really simple math operation, just a bunch of numbers being multiplied, added together, and then compared to a threshold. That's it. AI, at its most basic level, is just fancy number crunching over and over again. And this is a big but, there's a huge flaw with this setup. The Perceptron works great when decisions are black and white, like yes or no, spam or not spam. But what happens when the world isn't so simple? What if the answer isn't just one or the other, but something in between? What if we need the AI to recognize patterns that aren't so obvious? This is where things get really interesting. The answer to that problem? activation functions. And trust me, they change the game completely. Let's get into it. So we've got a perceptron that takes in inputs, weighs them, adds a little bias, and spits out a decision. Seems simple enough, right? But here's the problem. If we just let the perceptron add everything up and decide based on a fixed rule, it's kind of like a light switch, either completely on or completely off, no in between. And that's a huge limitation. Imagine if your brain worked like that. You see a dog, and instead of recognizing it as a fluffy golden retriever or a tiny chihuahua, your brain just says dog or not dog. That's it. No details, no nuance. Life would be weird, right? Well, that's exactly what happens with a basic perceptron. It can only make yes or no decisions, which is fine for simple tasks, but pretty useless for anything more complex. This is where activation functions come in. Think of them as filters that allow the perceptron to make decisions in a more flexible way. Instead of just flipping a switch, activation functions introduce shades of gray. They let the perceptron handle uncertainty, make softer transitions, and most importantly, learn complex patterns. One of the simplest activation functions is the step function. It's like an old school teacher grading a test. You either pass or fail, no partial credit. If the score is above the threshold, it's a 1. If it's below, it's a 0. Done. That works for super basic tasks, but it's not very useful when we need more detail. Then we've got the sigmoid function. This one is a game changer because it doesn't just say yes or no, it gives us probabilities. Instead of saying, this email is definitely spam, it might say, this email is 75% likely to be spam. That's a huge deal because now we're dealing with real-world uncertainty instead of strict yes or no answers. Another powerhouse is the ReLU function, which is short for rectified linear unit, but let's be honest, nobody calls it that in normal conversation. ReLU is kind of like a door that only opens one way. If the perceptron's total score is positive, ReLU lets it pass through unchanged. But if it's negative, ReLU just shuts it down and says, nope, not happening. This is incredibly useful in deep learning because it helps prevent unnecessary calculations and speeds things up. And this is where the magic really happens. By choosing the right activation function, we can turn the perceptron from a simple decision maker into something way more powerful. We can teach it to recognize handwritten numbers, detect objects and images, even understand human speech. Without activation functions, none of that would be possible. But, and this is a big but, activation functions don't just magically make everything work perfectly. Some of them have major flaws, some make learning too slow, some cause the perceptron to get stuck, and some, well, they just don't work as well as we'd hope. So how do we choose the best one? And what happens if we pick the wrong one? That's what we're about to find out. Let's keep